Hello YouTube, it's Hauntown here, and I once again dove into the trenches of survival horror games in order to drag into the light any creations inspired by the legends that are Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and I'm glad to say I have some really good stuff for you on this list. And a few horrible ones, like really bad, but mostly good stuff. So without further ado, I present to you 10 upcoming survival horror games inspired by Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Those of you that know me are aware that one of my favorite horror movies ever is The Thing, so whenever I find a game that is somewhat able to tap to the sense of dread that can only be induced by the knowledge that you are trapped in an isolated research facility in Antarctica with an unknown monstrous threat stalking you, I always jump on the opportunity to try it out. That is the case for The Black Ice.
Black Ice!
A title that puts you into the shoes of a brave polar explorer responding to an SOS signal sent from a massive research base called Vostok, which, fun fact, is also the name of the largest subglacial lake of Antarctica and a very weird Steve Alten novel. Anyway, our guy gets to the station where it immediately becomes evident that something is wrong since there's not a single person in sight, and following a bit of investigation, he finds a corpse with a weapon lying next to it, which signals the start of our survival horror experience. The game clearly draws inspiration from Resident Evil 4 with its over-the-shoulder camera angle, and also features some staples that were popularized by the Resident Evil series, such as the relaxing safe rooms that are permeated by calming music, getting your information from documents and recordings, as well as a creepy shadowy creature near the end of the demo, which was very reminiscent of a licker. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to experience any combat, given that the demo was very short, but I loved the vibe, and the game's trailer does reveal some of the puzzles and shooting the title is going for, both of which are right up my alley. Do keep the Black Ice on your radar, it looks quite promising. Now, I do love a good gaming experience about cults. I mean, what's not to love about them? You alone going against a bunch of lunatics who want to sacrifice anything and everything in the name of some dark god? Good stuff. It's why I was happy to discover Cult Trials Incarnation, a game where you play as Amelia, a girl who awakens in a dark world, and something about experiments and somehow you going up against Satan or something. In all honesty, I have no idea what the story is about given how laughably bad the English used here were, but I do wish the language was the only problem. As a matter of fact, this was one of the worst demos I have played in a while. Poorly optimized to the ground, bland to look at, and buggy to boot. What are we doing here, my guy? We partying or what? Anyway, the game's trailer does paint a better picture of what this thing is meant to be and sort of gave me some The Evil Within vibes, what with its demented world and outlandish enemies that are the result of horrific experiments, but the demo simply wasn't good enough to keep my attention. This is a hard pass for me, but do give it a shot in case it speaks to you. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. We found the most Resident Evil game of all time, and its name is H.A.D.E.S Zero. Step into the boots of Nick Smith, a guy that I initially confused for Leon Kennedy, as you delve into the depths of a massive research center complex owned by a company that is not Umbrella, who is conducting experiments on pushing the limits of human evolution. I'm sure nothing is going to go wrong with this, right guys? Wrong, because completely unexpectedly, a biotechnological disaster ensues and you find yourself fighting for dear life against mutated and zombified abominations. Every single second of playing this game felt as if I was 10 years old again, starting up Resident Evil 2 for the first time, and I loved it. From the fixed camera angles to the inventory management and optional tank controls, all the way to the random scattered documents, cozy safe rooms, and PS1 graphics, H.A.D.E.S Zero presses all the right buttons in order to send you back in time, when you first experienced survival horror greatness. I mean, you even save your game with a typewriter that requires an ink ribbon, for crying out loud. What more do you want? Do not sleep on this one. Put it on your wish list right now and thank me later. And the award for most ridiculous game on this list goes to Death Rabbit, which I suppose is trying to be some sort of meta commentary on the pandemic, kinda. According to the story, New York City is being ravaged by a deadly flu virus, and everyone is advised to get vaccinated, otherwise no restaurants and coffee shops for you. Unfortunately, the vaccinations end up turning people into flesh-eating zombies, which is a mildly undesirable side effect. You take on the role of a police officer called Alisa, who is forced to take on the undead during Halloween night, hence her very much inconvenient outfit for the job. So, time to destroy some zombies, right? Nope, let's just wander aimlessly around the bare-bones sandbox with questionable asset placement instead. I really don't know where to start with this game. First and foremost, who the hell designed their bathroom like this? That's the first floor inner balcony of a house, man. What's wrong with you? There's not even a door here. And oh look, ancient skeletal remains inside a random apartment. I wonder what's one of the main draws of this game. Now I wonder some more. Look, a sexy zombie, because apparently this lady decided to visit the metro in her stockings. My hair is blinking, my hair is blinking, my hair is blinking. Oh look, that's the reason for the zombie outbreak, makes total sense. God, even the shooting feels like crap. Why do I have to wait so long for the aim to focus? How can this be so bad? In conclusion, Death Rabbit puts the ass in acid flip, and not in a good way. Stay away from this crap show. This next one is arguably one of the most anticipated survival horror games at the moment on account of both its awesomely creepy vibe as well as its unique take on point-of-view camera utility. Holstin transpires during November of 1992 and follows a Polish guy named Tomasz who visits an eerie, isolated town in eastern Poland in search of a friend of his who believes there's something foul going on there, which Tomasz considers to simply be a conspiracy theory. Unfortunately for him, it looks like his friend is onto something, since no sooner has Tomasz arrived at the town that he immediately gets attacked by mutated people who seem to have been infected by a sentient goo that is permeating the place. Awesome visuals and incredible voice acting aside, what really stands out about Holstin is the way it makes use of its camera. More specifically, the default point of view follows an isometric perspective whose angle you can control by pressing the controller triggers, which is very helpful in order to get a better understanding of your surroundings. That being said, the POV adopts an over-the-shoulder perspective when aiming with your gun, or simply pressing the aiming trigger, bringing your video to familiar Resident Evil 4, 5 and 6 territory. I got to say I found this camera approach quite entertaining, though I'll admit it can be a bit dizzying at times. Exploration plays an important role here, since you will be finding a bunch of useful items scattered around, many of which you will be able to combine into healing items and ammunition, without which you're a goner. The town is also home to several interesting characters, each one boasting their own unique personality, quirks, as well as helpfulness. For example, a guy named Fifi who will sell you ammo in exchange for cigarettes. I also liked the map overview of the game, which felt both nostalgic and useful. Do keep in mind that Holstin is a bit dialogue heavy, at least for the first hour that I experienced, which I don't mind, but I know others do, though you can easily button mash your way through conversations if you don't want to get insights to the story and lore. The one thing I wasn't a fan of was the melee attack system, which doesn't allow you to go into close-up camera mode and requires of you to charge your assault and release just at the right moment to perform a hit, a process that I found quite disrupting to combat momentum. Regardless, the demo made me feel even more excited for Holstin than I already was, making it one of the standout titles from this list and a definite day one purchase for me. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if Resident Evil 1 was a dungeon-crawling roguelite survival horror game with strong JRPG elements? No? Then what about you over there? Yes? Well, wonder no more, because House of Necrosis is the perfect combination of the aforementioned genres. You step into the boots of a female police officer that is not Jill Valentine, who must venture inside a mysterious mansion that looms in the middle of a sprawling forest in order to locate a special forces team that went in to investigate some murder reports, but never came out. House of Necrosis adopts a semi-turn-based approach to movement and action. In essence, you walk around in rectangular fashion with the camera set above you as you explore the different floors of the mansion while collecting items and fighting enemies. Said enemies enter combat mode once you get into their range of aggression, at which point they make a move for every move you take, sort of like a demented game of chess. Defeating them earns you experience points that allow you to level up, effectively increasing your health, with your weapons also getting upgraded on occasion the more you use them. Speaking of weapons, I was able to wield the dagger and the sword I found a bit later for melee, as well as a handgun for ranged, which did require the use of ammo, meaning you can can't spam it. There are also items you will get to find that you can throw at enemies, but I didn't try those out simply because I had so much fun using the blades and gun. When it comes to items, there's a huge range of useful stuff for you to find and utilize, including healing herbs, armor, mystery boxes, as well as grimoires that teach you permanent spells, including the classic Cure, whose animation I adored due to its Final Fantasy vibe. Dying takes you to a safe room with a merchant from whom you can buy things and a box in which you can store stuff, from where you can once again brave the mansion for another shot at victory. I'll admit I'm not entirely sure how the roguelite meta works here, since nothing I gained during my 2 runs remained with me after I died, so I'm very curious about that aspect of the game. That being said, I absolutely loved my time with House of Necrosis and cannot wait for its full release. Awesome work by the developer. Ah, who doesn't love a good game about haunted houses? And look, there's one called Phantom House right there. Just take in that trailer, man. Looks cool, right? Creepy vibes, a character that looks like Claire Redfield, whatever this thing is supposed to be. I mean, it's got to be good, right? Wrong. This thing is even worse than Death Rabbit, which is something I never considered possible. This is how it actually looks like. Where do I even begin? The demo just dumps you into the game without any menu options. Optimization makes it look like I was trying to play this game using my hamster wheel PC, the blur effect is as dizzying as a punch to the face, and the clipping, so much clipping, dude. This is indeed a haunted house because apparently I'm the ghost since there's zero collision detection. I passed through chairs, the mansion's front door, a random car that has crashed next to it, the stone fence over yonder. I mean, I'm more immaterial than the actual demonic ghosts that are after me. And let's cap off this demo with me falling from the side of the world and just lounging under what I'm assuming is water, given the waterfall above me. You know what? Go play Death Rabbit instead. This is an absolute embarrassment and a complete waste of digital space. Be gone, foul beast. Be gone. Tormented Souls 2 is definitely the most popular and intensely awaited survival horror game on this list, sitting ahead of Holstin in terms of anticipation. A follow-up to the critically acclaimed Tormented Souls that came out back in 2021, the sequel follows the original protagonist, Caroline Walker, as she copes with the horrific events that transpired during the first game while trying to live a normal life with her younger sister Anna, whose face kind of looks like that of a cranky 40-year-old woman for some reason. In an effort to help Anna deal with recurring nightmares that she has been having, Caroline arranges for both of them to visit a convent of nuns that have promised to help. Yeah, because nothing bad has ever happened to a shadowy, isolated convent of nuns, right? Well, to no one's surprise, it turns out that the nuns are assholes that want to perform horrible experiments on the 2 sisters, which leads to Caroline waking up like this. Jesus Christ, that must hurt. In any case, our girl powers through the pain, gets dressed, and goes on to search for her missing sister. To say that the visuals and ambience of this game are top-notch would be a gross understatement, with the ridiculous attention to detail present here fleshing out the horrifying setting with grotesque efficiency. Adding to the overall dread is the fact that shadows can kill you if you spend too much time in them, so you need to make sure to always stay within the light in order to remain safe, which eventually becomes a bit easier once you come in possession of a lighter. That being said, shadows will not be your only problem here since the convent is stalked by terrifying abominations. Thankfully, you put together a nail gun early on that can help deal with these bastards, but even that won't be enough to protect you against the most horrific enemy to have ever plagued humankind. Bird shit. Dear lord, man, just look at this place. God, this won't ever come off, dude. You need like hot water and scrubbing and disinfectant? Screw the convent's bioexperiments. Do you know how many diseases these things carry? Oh my god, this is giving me PTSD, my poor car, dude. Anyway, this is another one you should absolutely add to your wish list since it looks awesome and plays fantastically. If the first game is any indication, we'll soon have another banger on our hands. VonGarland Castle Beyond Blood is probably the closest we have gotten so far to a 2D Resident Evil game. The lore here goes deep, with the narrative beginning 500 years ago, when a man named Baron VonGarland made a deal with a powerful evil vampire, offering it protection from angry mobs of people in exchange for immortality. Eventually, Baron had 2 sons, but since he only loved one of them, he made that one a vampire and completely ignored the other. Thus, 2 VonGarland bloodlines bloomed from that choice, one becoming a family of vampires, while while the other going down the vampire hunter path, with the hunters eventually managing to take down Baron and his army of the undead. Talk about family issues, am I right? Fast forward to today, Baron's threat has been replaced by a company called Plasmadyne, with its CEO coveting the same thing Baron managed to obtain all those centuries ago: immortality. To that end, Plasmadyne constructed laboratory facilities on an island called Mayhem, which a man named VonGarland of the vampire hunter lineage went to investigate, only to disappear without a trace. You are Ransom VonGarland, Weiss's sister, who decides to go investigate the island in order to find your brother and hopefully put an end to the shady plans of Plasmadyne once and for all. The game features several standard elements of the survival horror genre, including logical puzzles, scarce ammo, and the necessity for inventory management, as well as massive bosses that can be a pain to defeat if not careful. I have to admit I thoroughly enjoyed the vibe of Beyond Blood, including its slick visuals and engaging soundtrack, though there are a few things that could use improvement here. First and foremost, enemies don't react to hits, which not only takes away some of the intensity from battle, but also ends up confusing you a bit since you're not sure if an attack landed or not. Second, movement feels a bit abrupt and finicky, and should definitely be smoothed out a bit to give the character a better sense of control. The same goes for examining points of interest, since the view cuts to an abrupt close-up of whatever it is you're checking out, which can be quite jarring. Finally, there's an overall sense of clunkiness here, though I believe that if the aforementioned issues are addressed, said sense should reduce significantly. VonGarland Castle Beyond Blood is quite promising, and I will be giving it a go upon release, since I saw enough during the demo to pique my interest for the whole thing. Hopefully the game will be more polished by that point, but only time will tell. H.A.D.E.S was the second incredibly pleasant surprise for me from this list, alongside the previously mentioned House of Necrosis. The game tells the story of Ella, the twin sister of Claire Redfield, who decides to pay a visit to her brother in Maine after he asks her to come and investigate the company he's working for, since he's sensing something bad is about to happen. Reaching the outskirts of a forest, Ella ventures into the woods on her way to her brother's cabin, and things go south from there. H.A.D.E.S borrows heavily from RPGs for its combat approach, which is a mix of real-time movement and turn-based attacks, a fusion that ends up being incredibly addictive when paired with the survival horror foundation of the title in a way reminiscent of the Parasite Eve series. Attacking consumes stamina points, which gradually regenerate on their own, introducing a tactical element as you need to stay on the move and avoid enemy attacks when recharging, before going on the offensive again. Battle is further enhanced by a stagger system that allows you to stun enemies, giving you the opportunity for a brutal finisher that deals massive damage. Killing enemies, solving puzzles, and finding documents grants you experience points that go toward leveling up Ella and increasing her statistics, which are also improved by finding certain consumable items, such as oranges that permanently increase her defensive power. In addition, weapons and armor can be upgraded at certain workstations in exchange for scrap, which is scattered across the setting. In all honesty, I wasn't expecting much when I went into H.A.D.E.S, but boy oh boy was I proven wrong. There's something incredibly engaging about the game's mix of exploration, puzzle solving, tactical combat, and overall story mystery that kept me hooked throughout the demo, with H.A.D.E.S having been catapulted out of nowhere near the top of my personal list of most anticipated upcoming survival horror games, which is high praise given how demanding I can be when it comes to the genre. Go give H.A.D.E.S a look. I have a good feeling about this one. I hope you enjoyed this video, ghouls and gals, and also hope you found a few games to add to the good old wish list. Do let me know in the comments below what you thought about these survival horror titles, and remember to stay spooky.